you do that?
I am uncertain.
Rivet! How the heck are you? Look who it is!
Welcome back to Level Headed Gamer. My name is Joseph, and today I'm going to talk about Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart and do a review on the game. I finally got to beat it over the weekend, but I noticed something about it. I think the game might be slightly overhyped from what the reviews have been saying. From the reviews when I saw it, they basically said like this is the game of the generation and it's going to redefine PlayStation 5 and how it operates and everything like that. And I have to say, despite the fact that I think the game is absolutely fantastic and really fun to play, it is not perfect. I don't think it's that evolution of a system that everybody was saying it on the reviews. At least I personally don't think so. But I want to start with the positives, what I thought was really great about the game, and then go into the more of the negatives and kind of let you situate so you can see what I think about this game overall. And it's starting with the good one stuff is the graphics absolutely amazing, with the detail being just absolutely on another level. You can see the detail in the fur for Ratchet and Rivet, and just the pure aesthetic of the game. It looks like a Pixar movie now through and through. It's a no joke. It just has that level of animation, has that level of production and quality, and the story, and then it supports it as well. It has so many endearing moments, whether it be about friendship, the fear of the unknown, not feeling good enough, and the idea of relying on somebody else. It has a lot of really good story moments, and minute-to-minute action is absolutely fantastic. Each weapon feels great to use, especially thanks to haptic feedback and adaptive triggers, although I personally believe, now that I've gotten to play quite a few games with the haptic feedback and adaptive trigger, it's an overhyped mechanic. I think it's more of a gimmick. It's not gonna redefine gaming. For example, I don't notice much of the detail. Like, yeah, I can feel the vibrations and the subtle detail, but it's not so drastic in my mind that it really puts me like, whoa, I can't believe what I'm experiencing here. It's more of like, okay, that was cool, so what, let's keep going. For example, the new Xbox Series X controller, in my opinion, it's close enough to what the haptic feedback can do. Of course, it's not on the level of PlayStation. It does feel a little bit better. Each level also has something different and interesting for you to do. The adventure never gets stale in this game, and that's why it's so much fun. It's whether you're rushing through on those little bugs, rushing through the different environments and flying around, whether you're sliding on rails and jumping through portals, you're always doing something different in an environment that looks visually stunning and interesting to explore and look at, despite the fact that the levels themselves are quite narrow in this game. But when it came to the cons of the game, I gotta say the platforming in general in this game feels very on rails with no real skill involved, and that was my issue with the Ratchet & Clank remake and a couple of other Ratchet & Clank games that I've played in the past. For example, I'm a big fan of Crash Bandicoot or Donkey Kong, of course Mario, and even Spyro, which comes from Insomnia Games as well, and I enjoyed the challenge in platforming and have to time and jump, and like really skill is involved, especially the latest Crash Bandicoot game. That game is pretty freaking hard. The past couple Donkey Kong games, they get quite difficult when it comes to really platforming through each level, and here it's more forgiving, and I guess it's more made for the casual gamer or maybe even for kids, so they have an easier time with the game. But that's not something I would want a challenge when it comes to platforming. Not to mention the whole portal swapping thing. It is awesome to be able to jump from one level to the other, but after about a couple times you start realizing you're not really in control of any of these sequences. You kind of have to jump, you're being pushed in through the portal. You have no control whether you're jumping go left or right, what's happening. You're not like in Uncharted, for example, when you're jumping from building to building, or you're given control in very unique situations. You're not given that here, and this is supposed to be a PlayStation 5 game, and that's what I mean by it's not a game that really is going to revolutionize PlayStation 5. For example, what I thought Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3 did in terms of their epic sequences, this game does not match, in my opinion, in any shape or form, because you were in control of most of those sequences, and we felt like, yeah, I got this. When you're climbing on the side of the train that was hanging over in Uncharted 2, you don't have moments like this in this game. You feel very much on rails with minimal control. there's also only a handful of epic boss battles that you get to fight in this game. You actually end up fighting the same mini robot bosses actually, and large monsters throughout the adventure. And I think by the third or fourth one I was kind of like, okay, I'm just fighting another one, let's get through this pretty quickly, because I enjoyed the fights themselves when it was with the regular enemies. But when it came to this, fighting the same boss, I just kind of, you know, honestly speaking, I got a little bit bored in here. And I thought another thing in this game that completely, I mean, makes the exploration less interesting is that armor is purely cosmetic in this game and hunting, so there's no real point hunting them down. And when you go into those rifts to find the armor, the challenge, so to say, is really easy. I actually did find the puzzles with Clank to be quite fun, despite the fact that we're also very much on the easy side. But that's been puzzles in general in modern gaming overall. They haven't been very intricate. They're more interesting and just a nice way to break up the pace, not to really stump you like old school Tomb Raider or Soul Reaver or something even like Fear Effect would back in the day, which had really difficult puzzles. And this game overall, I would think this is the point you kind of see me saying in the cons, is this game is really easy, and I played it on the hardest difficulty possible. I would think maybe the puzzles or the platforming, something would be like the timing have to be more precise, but it's basically the same throughout the whole adventure. And I think that's the reason why I would say I think this game is amazing. If I had to rate it, so you kind of see in my head where I'm at with this game, I would give it like an 8.5. I thought it was a really fun adventure. I'd recommend it for anybody with a PlayStation 5. Would I recommend buying a PlayStation 5 just for this game? No, I would say pick up Miles Morales and pick up Demon's Souls to really kind of round out your PlayStation purchase, and obviously Returnal. But just for this game, I think this is not the system seller that everybody says it is. That's how I feel personally. Although despite the fact I do think the story is great in terms of the more character moments, not the overall plot. I thought the overall plot, you know, it's a typical platforming, crazy action adventure kind of a story, which in some sequences kind of lasted slightly too long in my opinion, but the enduring moments just overtook everything there. And the character building of both the Rivet and Clank and the Ratchet and Kit was just overall great. And again, where the weaknesses come in, the strengths I think overshadow overall in this game. Despite all the things that I pointed out negative about this game, I think the good stuff in this game just completely overshadows it. But it's enough for me to say like, well, it's not, for me personally, it's not an instant classic. I have played this in other Ratchet Clank. For example, I played more Ratchet Clank games than just the remake. I just only beat the remake and Rift Apart. I've done this many times before in different platforming games. I've seen this before in Uncharted games. They kind of took what has been done before and packaged it really well into this particular product. And that's what I thought about Ratchet Clank and Rift Apart. And I don't know if you guys agree with me. I know there's a lot of fans out there that are going to disagree with me and going to think that I'm a hater or I am being too harsh or something like that. And it's just my opinion of what I thought the game, where it stood, so to say, in terms of fun factor. I would, if it had really difficult platforming, or at least difficult platforming that really involved timing, and I really had to kind of measure myself, and you know, it wasn't so on rails, and it had a couple more interesting bosses, I think obviously I would give it definitely over a 9. But I did experience a couple of glitches, but that's about it. What did you guys think of the game overall? Did you find it to be fun? Did you think the things I pointed out were wrong, that they're not valid arguments that are brought forward to you? Or do you also found this to be slightly easier or more on rails than you expected to be? Do you think it's a system seller for PlayStation 5? I would like to know from you guys down below in the comments. And I would like for you guys to make sure you enjoy the rest of your day. And if you enjoy this kind of content where we do reviews, impressions, and as well as some discussions of video games, make sure to subscribe down below. And guys, remember, sometimes we're not going to agree on the same opinion, and that's okay. That's the fun of gaming. We get to discuss the wonderful medium of video games and just have our own conversations.